Environmental groups and tribal alliances in California are facing a serious problem related to the water management policies of the California Department of Irrigation. This complaint alleges that current policies are unfair and discriminatory against Indigenous peoples, causing serious impacts to the rights and existence of Indigenous tribal communities. Specific issues may include the distribution and use of water resources, impacts on Indigenous living and farming areas, and the environmental consequences of these policies. Environmental groups and tribal alliances demand that the Department of Irrigation adjust policies to ensure fairness and fully protect the rights of Indigenous people in the use and management of water resources. This reflects the efforts of organizations and communities to protect and promote the rights of Indigenous people, and to provide appropriate solutions to resolve disputes and conflicts related to resource management. Resources and environment. The decision by U.S. federal authorities to investigate the California Department of Irrigation over allegations of discrimination against Indigenous people and other communities of color related to water protection is an important step in monitor and protect the rights of ethnic minorities and Indigenous tribes. This investigation may focus on water resource management policies, water distribution, and decisions affecting these communities. This investigation highlights the importance of applying equity and protecting the rights of Indigenous peoples and communities of color in the management of critical resources like water. It also demonstrates the U.S. federal government's commitment to monitoring and ensuring compliance with legal regulations related to environmental management and protection of national water resources. At the end of 2022, an environmental protection group and tribal alliance in the state of California, Western United States, filed a complaint with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, criticizing the California Department of Irrigation for water management policies that they say discriminate against Indigenous peoples and other communities of color. This complaint highlights that current policies seriously impact the rights and sustainability of Indigenous and Black tribal communities, especially in the distribution and use of important water resources. Important as water source and living environment. EPA is currently conducting an investigation to review the relevant issues and ensure compliance with laws related to environmental equity and protection. The allegations against the California Department of Water Resources include failures to protect water quality in the San Francisco Bay and the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta region. These accusations suggest that discriminatory practices have contributed to ecological decline in these critical areas. Furthermore, the groups argue that the agency's policies favor large-scale agricultural interests, potentially exacerbating the degradation of the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta region. The ecological deterioration mentioned likely stems from these discriminatory practices affecting Indigenous communities. This situation highlights broader environmental justice concerns, where historically marginalized groups, including Indigenous peoples, bear disproportionate environmental burdens. The accusations underscore a critical intersection of environmental management, social equity, and racial justice. Addressing these issues requires not only rectifying environmental harms, but also ensuring equitable access to resources and meaningful participation in decision-making processes for all communities affected. The ongoing investigation and legal proceedings are crucial steps toward holding accountable those responsible for safeguarding both environmental quality and social equity in California's water management policies. The complaint alleges that the California Department of Water Resources has exacerbated ecological crises in the hydrological network, resulting in significant environmental burdens disproportionately borne by Indigenous and other communities of color. These communities are said to suffer the brunt of environmental degradation and ecological collapse due to discriminatory water management practices. The impact on these communities underscores broader environmental justice issues, where historically marginalized groups face heightened vulnerability to environmental hazards and insufficient protection of their natural resources. The hydrological crisis mentioned likely involves issues such as water quality degradation, habitat loss, and disruptions to ecological balance, all of which can have profound consequences for local ecosystems and community well-being. Addressing these allegations requires a comprehensive review of water management policies to ensure equitable distribution of environmental benefits and protections. It also calls for meaningful engagement with affected communities to integrate their perspectives into decision-making processes and promote sustainable solutions that prioritize both ecological health and social equity. This approach is essential for fostering resilience and justice in environmental governance across California and beyond. Based on the August 8th dispatch from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, sent to the state of California, announcing that the EPA had approved to conduct an investigation as requested in the complaint against the California Department of Irrigation. According to this notice, the California Department of Water Resources will have 30 days to resolve the issues raised in the complaint. This investigation may include consideration of water resources management policies, environmental protection measures, and responses to environmental impacts on Indigenous communities and communities of color. The investigation process will evaluate the reasonableness and fairness of current management measures and propose necessary solutions to improve the environmental situation and ensure the rights of affected communities. EPA's approval of the investigation is an important step in environmental monitoring and protection, ensuring that water resources management policies are implemented equitably and protect everyone. The complaint group also asked the EPA to announce the conclusion of the investigation within 6 months of the complaint being accepted, in case there is no settlement agreement between the two sides. This emphasizes the importance of prompt and transparent resolution of disputes related to water resources management. The Sacramento-San Joaquin River is an important river system that flows into San Francisco Bay, not only supporting the saltwater ecosystem, but also providing the main source of water for most residents and large-scale agricultural activities. Large-scale in California. At the same time, the Delta is also home to many Indigenous and people of color communities, which are particularly sensitive to environmental changes. The publication of EPA's findings will be important to ensure that environmental protections and water resources management practices are implemented equitably and benefit all communities and economic sectors in California.